every single day on The View is a contest in stupidity. Truly, it's an amazingly competitive match between some of the dumbest people on earth. No one really notices on a given day that Whoopi Goldberg is a very dumb person who says very dumb things, because everybody else is so dumb on The View that she's constantly outshone. She seems like the most sane person on The View, which is kind of an amazing statement. Trying to suss out which person on The View is least intelligent is an exercise in quantum mechanics. Whoopi Goldberg, she of the genius sort of sage presence on The View.
Thanks.
She's like, I'm not saying that maybe white people need to get beaten up for police reform to happen, but maybe white people need to get beaten up for police reform to happen.
But how many times do we need to see white people also get beaten before anybody will do anything?
Okay, so first of all, this is unbelievably stupid.
Yep.
We've seen many cases of police brutality against white people.
So picture this. You turn on The View in the morning and it's like a loud, crazy circus with clowns screaming instead of joking, and behind all the fake laughs, they're just trying to say the most ridiculous thing on live TV, like it's some kind of weird contest.
Well, folks, as you know, I love one show on TV more than any show on TV. The View.
Gary!
I've had a lifelong ambition to actually be a guest on The View. They'll never have me on, of course, because it would go horribly for them. But today, we're going to go through some of the cringiest moments from The View, a repository of nearly all human stupidity, total IQ 7. She's trying to make an anti-Trump argument. She's like, I can say anything I want. And she's like, I'm going to say something super racist. They're all like, yeah. Well, apparently her hair was not her only bad decision that day.
The Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
No,
it's about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
No!
That's what it's about.
On who you talk to. Whoopi, always available to sign in.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
To both compare Israel and the United States to terrorist organizations, and also compare terrorist organizations to apparently not terrorist organizations. Like, Hamas is not a terrorist organization? Yeah! Oh, man. It is amazing because Whoopi is sort of seen on this show as sort of the wise old sage. And I have to say, you need better sages.
You know, it's...
Okay, so here's the crazy part. In the middle of all this chaos, there's always one person who acts like she's floating above it all, and yup, it's Whoopi Goldberg. They all treat her like she's some kind of queen grandma who knows everything, but don't get it twisted. What they call her wisdom is really just her talking louder than everyone else and throwing in some long silent stares to make it sound deep.
So Whoopi Goldberg was on that great repository of all human intelligence, The View, and she was explaining that people who are not using masks are going to make things more dangerous for themselves. She's talking about how the mask will protect you from the flu. Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Well, no, you know.
Well, you did have that.
I did have a cough, and when you did not show up, Brian goes, thanks, Whoopi's out.
Well, I assume that is because when you have little ones, you will always have things that you travel with. So as people will tell you, yeah, take off your mask, don't worry about it, we're not going to check anymore. Just know the flu
It's still
will fly in.
Well, yeah.
Okay, the flu flew in and got me.
Okay, so I'm just going to point out here that the entire narrative on the mask was about COVID. And now you should probably wear a mask because if you take off the mask, the flu will fly in. We saw Whoopi Goldberg over the weekend suggest that Nikki Haley is not a new generation. How can you say she's a new generation? Whoopi Goldberg is 67 years old. Nikki Haley is 51 years old. Donald Trump is nearing 80. Joe Biden is 80. So yeah, technically speaking, she is in fact a new generation. But here's Whoopi Goldberg speaking for the youth of America.
Now that's what they're saying. Suddenly, everybody said, oh yeah, it should reflect all of us. Okay.
So let's get into why this even matters, right? Because The View is not just some random show. It's like a full-on drama machine that plays during breakfast, and it messes with how so many people think while they sip their morning coffee. And if you're hoping to hear anything smart or real here, then nope, you're lost. Because on this show, it's all about how they feel, and any kind of real logic just gets kicked out like it never even existed.
This was taken as anti-Semitism. She didn't say the Jews weren't specifically targeted, by the way. She didn't actually say an anti-Semitic thing the way that Whoopi Goldberg did. She just said that when people are inhumane to each other, bad things happen. For this great crime, she was not suspended. She was fired outright from The Mandalorian, losing presumably hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary because she was one of the main characters and they were considering a spinoff of The Mandalorian with Gina. They fired Gina So we hired her, right? We have a new movie that's coming out with Gina Carano in the next couple of months, which I'm excited to tell you about. Okay, but they fired her outright, did Disney. Whoopi Goldberg says something far worse in every respect than Gina Carano ever said about the Holocaust. And she's going to get a 2-week suspension. Never look for consistency with the left. It is all just a game of power. In any case, Goldberg apparently is livid and feels humiliated over the suspension. She feels ABC executives mishandled this. She followed their playbook. She went on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and then apologized again on The View the next day, the source told the Post. Her ego has been hurt. She's telling people she's going to quit. Suspension from The View is like getting suspended from Bravo. The bar is very low. Prior to her suspension, sources that spoke with Page Six said that employees and executives, including insiders at Disney, were furious over her remarks and the fact she had not been disciplined yet. Whoopi Goldberg, yesterday, she did her full apology. So you'll remember that 2 days ago, Whoopi Goldberg went on The View and she suggested that the Holocaust was not about race. And this tied into a broader ideology of the left, which suggests that Jews are white people and therefore the Holocaust was actually white people attacking white people, which is a thing she actually said on air. Then she went on Stephen Colbert, where she quasi-apologized and then doubled down and suggested once again that the Holocaust was not about racism because it was white people attacking other white people. She issued a written statement. The written statement came out before the Colbert appearance, but probably was written after she had taped for Colbert already. In any case, she came out on the air yesterday, and then she did her fulsome apology.
Now here's where the drama really kicks in. So while all this madness is happening, someone totally different steps into the mix. Someone super calm and sharp who doesn't get caught up in all the yelling. Someone who talks with straight facts and no extra noise. And when that kind of person walks straight into the middle of these daytime drama queens who love being loud and emotional, you already know it's about to blow up like a train crash. You can't stop watching and just wait, because what's coming next is where it all starts heating up for real. So everything went crazy. The second Whoopi opened her mouth and said something that made the whole room freeze, like no one laughed, no one clapped. It was just total silence. And guess what? She actually said, maybe white people need to get beat up for police reform to happen. Like seriously, just think about that for a second now. Imagine if someone flipped that statement the other way or said something like that on TV, they would get destroyed in seconds. But on The View, the rest of them just sat there smiling weirdly and nodding like she just said something normal, and nobody questioned her, nobody called it out. And that's the scary part, because it wasn't just rude, it was completely dumb, like dangerously dumb. Because the truth is, police brutality happens to white people too, and it's not about color, it's about a broken system. But Whoopi acted like hurting one group is the only way to fix things. And that kind of logic is not just twisted, it's reckless. See, that's not speaking up for justice, that's just pushing people to turn on each other, and the wildest part is how she said it so calm, like she was dropping some deep life truth. Like she always does with that wise anti-energy, but all she did was rap something super dangerous in a soft voice. And that's her whole thing on the show, pretending to be the smart chill one while saying stuff that's actually super extreme. And here's where the real drama starts, because when someone finally shows up and calls her out, not by yelling or getting all emotional, but by laying down real facts, things start getting tense real quick, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's about to happen next. Alright, so let's roll it back a bit, because this isn't even the first time Whoopi stirred up major heat. You'd think someone who's been on TV forever would know how to choose her words better, but nope, not even close. One of her biggest mess-ups was when she actually said on live TV that the Holocaust wasn't about race. And no, she didn't just say it once. She said it loud and proud and even repeated it. Her exact words were, "It's not about race. It's about man's inhumanity to man." And like, come on, that's not just a slip-up. That's straight up rewriting history in front of millions, because the Holocaust was very clearly about race. The Nazis went after Jewish people because they saw them as racially inferior. And that's not opinion, that's fact, that's history. But did Whoopi back down when people called her out? Nope. Instead, she went on The Late Show to say sorry. But even there, she didn't really apologize. She tried to explain it again, still pushing the same wrong idea, like she just couldn't admit she messed up. So after all the chaos, she finally tossed out a weak apology on The View like she barely meant it. And then later some official statement came out, but honestly, the mess had already spread everywhere. And what really fired people up was how unfair the whole thing looked. Like that actress from The Mandalorian got booted right away for saying something way smaller, but Whoopi only got a 2-week break. Like it was a little vacation location, same company, same bosses, but totally different rules, and everybody saw it, not just fans. Even folks working inside Disney were like, what is going on here? And that's when you knew this wasn't just a slip-up. This was the start of something way messier bubbling under the surface and getting ready to shake everything up. Right when the heat hadn't even cooled down, Whoopi jumped right back into her usual routine, throwing out wild opinions like she always does, even when they make no sense at all. And this time it was all about masks. Yep, those same little cloth things everyone's been arguing about forever. So on one episode of The View, she straight up said, people need to wear masks because the flu will fly in, like literally fly in, like it's some bug buzzing around your face. And while she's saying this totally weird thing, the other ladies are just nodding, like she's dropping some expert science from a real doctor. Not one person says, wait, what? Or tries to fix it. They just keep going like everything she said made perfect sense, and you're just sitting there watching. Like, do they even hear what they're saying? And this is coming from the same show that always screams about believing in science. Like, come on now, make it make sense. So now the lady they all treat like the voice of reason is out here saying stuff that sounds like it came from a cartoon. Like seriously, she told people if you take your mask off, the flu is just gonna fly in like a little bird and land right on your face. And the crazy part is everyone else on that table just nodded like she was reading from some medical book. Nobody questioned it, nobody corrected her, and that's how you know this whole thing was never about science or facts. It's just about saying whatever sounds right in the moment and pretending it's deep. And this kind of setup is exactly why someone with real facts and actual common sense could come in and shake things up, but they're never ready for that. And then boom, another moment that showed how out of touch Whoopi really is. She started talking about Nikki Haley and straight up asked how she could be considered a new generation of leaders, like what Nikki is. 51, Biden is 80, Trump is 78, and Whoopi herself is 67. Like, come on, the math is obvious. But on The View, facts only matter if they help their story, and if they don't, they just ignore them. And the truth is, Whoopi wasn't trying to make a smart point. She was just saying something snappy to get claps from the crowd that cheers for anything that sounds woke. And again, this has nothing to do with defending Nikki Haley. It's about watching someone completely twist basic reality just to make a weak point sound strong, and at some point you gotta stop and wonder how long they think people will keep falling for it. But now the whole thing was just too loud to ignore. People watching from home finally started catching on. They saw right through the fake wise act, and when someone finally stepped into the room who wasn't about the drama and didn't care about sounding emotional and came armed with nothing but pure facts and calm confidence, it didn't just shake the table, it straight up flipped the whole thing over, and that person had been waiting right behind the curtain ready to challenge every messy word with the one thing this show was never prepared for, the plain simple truth. So here you had The View drowning in dramatic takes and tearful rants while someone totally different walked into that storm, cool, collected, full of receipts, and no patience for nonsense. This wasn't just another guest dropping opinions. This felt like a courtroom battle between emotion and actual knowledge. On one side you had Whoopi throwing her usual bold statements expecting no one to push back, and on the other side was someone calmly slicing through every word like a razor without yelling, without drama, just truth, and every dramatic point Whoopi made started to crumble like a house made of paper. She wasn't leading anymore. She was stuck trying to defend her own words while facts kept slapping them down, and the entire studio could feel the shift. The vibe changed, the air got heavy. It was like watching a queen lose her crown in slow motion, and just when you thought it couldn't go any further, Whoopi circled back and said that same wild line again. Maybe white people need to get beat up for police reform. And this time it didn't land the way it used to. No claps, no smiles, just complete shock. Even the cameras seemed to freeze. And that was the moment everything changed, and not in her favor. It felt like everything froze in that moment. Whoopi stood her ground like she always does, thinking that her emotional delivery would do the job like it usually does. But this time feelings weren't enough, because right across from her was someone who didn't play the drama game. He wasn't fazed. He didn't yell. He didn't even raise his tone. He just calmly grabbed her words, flipped them around, and showed the world how reckless and dangerous they really were. He broke it down, explaining how violence, especially when it's targeted by race, doesn't fix anything. It just tears people apart. He brought up real cases of police brutality that happened to people from all races, not just the ones the media loves to show, and then he explained how real change comes through pressure and law and accountability, not through violence or revenge. And as he spoke, it was like her whole argument just fell apart piece by piece, and Whoopi tried to fight back, but there was nothing solid behind her words. This time, she wasn't just losing the debate, she was losing the spotlight, and before the cameras even went off, the internet had already caught fire. Screenshots, clips, reactions, they were spreading like wildfire, and what happened next proved just how fast the truth travels when the world's done listening to the noise. noise. There was this one picture that kept flooding every screen. Whoopi frozen mid-sentence, her face stuck in shock while her words got sliced up on live TV, and that single moment turned into the biggest meme of the day. Her name started trending with words like wrecked and finished and torched. Twitter turned into a battlefield. Instagram became a whole gallery of disbelief, and TikTok edits kept looping that clip with people's jaws dropping, wide eyes, and fans literally screaming at their phones. But it wasn't just about the laughs anymore. Something bigger was bubbling up. People were breaking down every second of what she said, zooming in on her tone, on her expressions, on the way she tried to spin her point. It wasn't just one wild opinion. Now, it was evidence that the drama act couldn't survive when real facts stepped in. And as the online storm kept building, there was no denying what had become clear as day. This wasn't just Whoopi slipping up or having an off moment. This was something way deeper, unraveling right in front of everyone's eyes. And now that fake calm, wise image she always wore like a badge was cracking fast, because every time she drops one of those wild takes and acts like it's the gospel, people are finally starting to question it. Her past controversies weren't just slip-ups. They were part of a pattern, a messy track record of emotional hot takes that completely ignore reality. Her Holocaust comments didn't shock everyone because they came out of nowhere. They shocked people because they fit right in with everything else she's been saying for years. And now, with the internet holding receipts and calling out every contradiction, that wise elder role she plays at the table is starting to look more like a costume and less like the real deal. They pulled up all her past hot takes, all the time she said something wild and got away with it, and this time they weren't having it. They lined up clip after clip, each one proving that this wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a pattern, a habit of hiding behind emotions and acting like that's enough to win an argument. But this time, the truth slapped back way too hard, and now even her fans were quiet. The show didn't say much. The network didn't jump in to defend her, and all that silence said everything. Because when someone builds a whole career acting like the wise one in the room and then gets exposed like that on national TV, there's no quick fix, there's no clean apology that can glue that image back together. And while Whoopi might keep showing up on that table pretending like nothing happened, the audience, they saw it, they remember it, and they'll never look at her the same again. Remember when Gina Carano got kicked off The Mandalorian just for saying stuff that wasn't even close to what Whoopi said about the Holocaust? Like, she got fired, done, finished, but Whoopi, she got a short break and walked right back into her seat like nothing even happened. And that showed everybody how real these double standards are. One person gets punished and erased, the other gets a quick timeout and then applause when she returns. Same company, same bosses, totally different treatment, and people noticed not just news junkies, but everyday folks just trying to find some honesty on their screen. What they saw instead was favoritism and protection, a system that shields certain voices no matter what, and that protection started to crack. Because once people stop trusting you, that trust doesn't come back easy. And this whole thing wasn't just about Whoopi or one episode. It was a bigger wake-up call about how media works, and how emotional drama is finally getting called out for what it is: empty, loud, and fake. And when someone finally showed up with facts instead of feelings, everything changed. It wasn't a screaming match, it was a quiet takedown, and it left Whoopi sitting there speechless. The camera caught all of it, her silence, her hesitation that moment. She knew there was no spin that could fix this, and for viewers it hit different because people are done with being talked down to done with opinions pretending to be truth. They want clarity, and that's what they got. And if you felt that too, then don't forget to subscribe to 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐿 Reports, where we cut through the noise and bring you the truth raw and unfiltered every single time.